Okay, so to start today's lecture, today we are going to talk about general properties of viruses, part 1. So to start with the history of virology, smallpox was endemic in China in 1000 BC. They have seen that the survivors of this particular outbreak of smallpox, they are protected by certain immunity. And while observing all this, they have started the practice of variolation, in which they developed a practice of snuffing the dried crust from the smallpox lesion, as which was later on modified by inoculation of the pus from the lesion into scratch on the forearm of child, which was providing immunity, a sort of vaccination against the smallpox infection to the children. Edward Jenner in 1796 has first developed the smallpox vaccine using a mild strain of cowpox virus. Measuring in 1897, first coined the term virus in Latin, which means poison. Viruses were first demonstrated after invention of electron microscope. The first prototype of electron microscope capable of 400 power magnification was developed in 1931 by physicist Ernst Ruska and electrical engineer Max Nord. Vandal Stanley in 1935 showed that when he observed the crystallized sap from tobacco leaves of infected with the tobacco mosaic virus, and he found that the virus has nucleic acid and protein. So to briefly go through, when we go through the history of virology in 1000 BC, China, they started the variolation practice in 1400 BC. In Egypt, they were found certain written records about viral infections. Vaccination was first done by Edward Jenner in 1796 with the cowpox strain. In 1880, they started microbiology, the strain full-fledged with the help of with the discoveries of Robert Koch and Louis Pasteur. In 1892, the virology stream has successfully started by Dmitry Ivanovsky, who showed that the ceramic filter extract from diseased plant could transmit the disease to other plant, which showed that there is certain filterable agent, invisible agent, which are transmitting through the filtrate, and they are causing the infection in healthy plants from the diseased plant extract, which was filtered. In 1898, Martinus Beijing, he worked on tobacco mosaic virus. Loeffler and Frosch, they worked on foot and mouth disease in cattle. In 1909, poliomyelitis was the first human disease-causing virus was discovered, and in 1915 to 1970, they have discovered about bacteriophages, which are the viruses which are causing infection in bacteria. By the Wood and Felix, they discovered the viruses which are infecting viruses. In 1950, from 1950 to 2003, various discoveries were there enlisting Ebola, West Nile virus, HIV, and SARS. For reverse transcriptase in retroviruses, Howard Timmins and David Baltimore, they've got Nobel Prize in 1975. In 1983, Lewis Montagnier and R. Gallo, they are also awarded with Nobel Prize in 2003 for their discovery about HIV as a causative agent of AIDS. The general information about virus is that its name derived from the Latin word poison, and approximately 52 years were required for discovery of the viruses. So what is virus? Virus is a small non-living infectious particle containing genetic material in the form of either DNA or RNA with the protein capsule called as capsid, and it is a non-cellular particle. So what are viruses? Viruses are small non-living infectious particles which has a genetic material, either DNA or RNA, and surrounded by a protein coat or capsule, which is known as capsid, and these are non-cellular particles. So, to introduce the topic, unicellular microorganisms are classified into eukaryotes and prokaryotes. Eukaryotes are fungi and parasites. Prokaryotes are bacteria, blue-green algae. But viruses strictly don't follow in these categories. The differences between viruses and bacteria are listed here. Bacteria are microorganisms having cells with cell wall. Both type of nucleic acids are present in bacteria, RNA as well as DNA, for the synthesis of their own proteins and building structures, as well as they multiply by the process of binary fission. Whereas viruses are an obligate intracellular parasites. They don't have own cellular organization. They either have DNA or RNA as a nucleic acid. They are also known as filterable agents because they are filtered through the filters which retain bacteria. They are not able to grow on artificial such as media such as bacteria. They don't even have own enzymes for protein and nucleic acid synthesis. They depend on the host cell for the protein and nucleic acid synthesis. Viruses multiply by the process of complex process known as replication, which involves 6 important steps, and they are not following binary fusion as seen in bacteria. They are resistant to antibacterial agents, and these agents are not effective against viruses. They're responsible for causing large number of human diseases ranging from minor diseases like flu to life-threatening infections such as hepatitis, HIV, rabies, and COVID-19, the pandemic which we are going through. So to learn about viruses, first we have to learn about the size, structure, shape, envelope, the resistance pattern, and their chemical and antigenic patterns, as well as their multiplication or replication, how they multiply and how they replicate. So what are viruses made up of? They're made up of nucleic acid, maybe either DNA or RNA, but not both. They're surrounded by capsid, which is made up of protein, and the nucleic acid is protected by the capsid. Capsid is surrounded by a coat which is lipoprotein in nature, and it is present in certain viruses like influenza, chickenpox, herpes simplex, and HIV, which is similar to the bacterial capsule. And bacteriophages are certain viruses which have a different type of symmetry, which is known as complex symmetry, and they are non-enveloping. Viruses, if we measure the size, they vary widely in their size. The largest virus measures about 400 nanometer and the smallest one 20 nanometer. Size of virus can be determined by electron microscope, ultracentrifugation, and passage through filter membrane. So ultracentrifugation means what? Electron microscope, they have the particular measuring scales, and according to that we can measure on electron microscope. Ultracentrifugation, these virus particles are suspended in liquid medium and they are subjected to ultracentrifugation. During ultracentrifugation, the virus particle gets settled down. Depending upon their sedimentation rate, the size is calculated, which is proportional to their sedimentation rate. Passage through filter membrane filter, the maximum pore size which are able to retain the viruses, they are not allow the virus to pass through, is multiplied by 0.64, gives you approximate diameter of the virus particle. So this is a diagrammatic representation which will show you a difference in size of RNA virus, DNA virus, as well as the difference in size of bacterial cell as well as the virus. Structure and shape. This is a schematic representation of a virus structure which has a nucleic acid surrounded by capsid. Capsid is surrounded by envelope. Envelope has a projecting peplomers. Nucleic acid of a virus is either DNA or RNA, and depending upon which it is classified. Nucleic acid may be single, double-stranded, circular or linear, segmented or unsegmented. Virion are the extracellular infectious entire virus particle which has outer protein shell known as capsid and inner core known as nucleic acid, either RNA or DNA. The core confers infectivity and the capsid provide specificity to the virus. It acts as a vehicle for transmission from one host to another host. Capsid is surrounded by Capsid is a protein coat which surrounds the nucleic acid core, and it is made up of capsomer. Capsomer are nothing but the protein subunits which are arranged in such a manner that it becomes impenetrable and it protects the nucleic acid from the environmental as well as unfavorable conditions, in which it also protects it from inactivation. At the same time, envelope can help, so capsid can help the virus genome to get introduced inside the host cell. Capsomers, which are the building blocks of capsid, and capsomers are made up of protomers, which are polypeptide chains, which are the building blocks of capsomers. So this diagram can give you a schematic representation of protomers, then capsomers, procapsid, and capsid, how the capsid is made up of using polypeptide and polypeptide protein blocks. Like bacterial shape, viruses do have shape, but that is known as symmetry. And in viruses, there are two important symmetries, icosahedral and helical. On the other hand, there is one other symmetry which is known as complex symmetry, which does not follow icosahedral or helical symmetry. Icosahedron, these are polygon with 12 corners and 20 sides. Sides are the equilateral triangles. There are two type of capsomers which form capsid, pentagonal capsomers and hexagonal capsomers. Pentagonal capsomers are used for corners, and hexagonal capsomers, they are forming the sides or facets of the icosahedral or cubical virus particle. Example is adenovirus. Another symmetry is helical symmetry. The capsomer and nucleic acid in this are wound together to form a helical or spiral tubule. You can see in the picture here. Actually, this is a typical example of nucleocapsid, where you can see the nucleic acid is surrounded by the capsomer, and the capsomer is so impenetrable, nothing can go inside, and that is protecting the nucleic acid performing its function. Most of the helical viruses are enveloped and all are RNA viruses. For example, rabies, Ebola viruses. Complex symmetry is another symmetry. Some viruses neither show icosahedral nor helical symmetry. They do their they because of their complex structure. For example, bacteriophage. Now, enveloped, certain viruses don't have envelope. They are called as naked viruses, and some viruses they have envelope, which are made up of lipoprotein, where the lipid is derived from the host cell, while budding out from the host cell, the virus acquires this lipid from the host cell, and the protein is coded by the virus. Protein subunits, which are seen as projecting spike on the surface of the envelope, are known as peplomers. These viruses, there are certain viruses which may have one peplomer, or there may be more than one peplomer. For example, influenza, they have more than one peplomer, hemagglutinin and neuraminidase. This diagram can give you a comparison between naked and envelope viruses, two basic types of virus particles. Naked virus has capsomer, which builds the capsid, inside which the nucleic acid is there, while envelope viruses, they have the nucleic acid surrounded by capsid, and capsid is surrounded by envelope. Envelope confers chemical, antigenic, and biological property to the virus particle. Antibody against the envelope antigens can neutralize the viruses. Viruses are susceptible to lipid solvents such as chloroform, ether, and detergents. Naked viruses are seen to be, most of the time, they are resistant to these reagents. Important functions of envelope are host cell attachment and hemagglutination. Hemagglutination can be seen in influenza and herpes viruses. So what is hemagglutination? First of all, we have to see the viral hemagglutinin. Viral hemagglutinin, these are the glycoprotein spikes which are orthoclonal present or projecting out from the envelope in influenza. They have the capacity to agglutinate with various species. RBCs, for example, they can agglutinate human RBCs, they can agglutinate bird RBCs, they can agglutinate pig RBCs, they can agglutinate bat RBCs. So this is they can agglutinate various RBCs, and hemagglutination is the process by which we can detect influenza virus, and this is a convenient method for detection of the virus. Due to the presence of this hemagglutinin spike on the surface, the reaction is specifically occurred when we add RBCs in that tube where the virus is there. A virus culture is added in the RBC. So the viruses, they have spike on their surface, they go and attach to the RBCs at a particular receptor which are present on the RBCs, and they agglutinate the RBCs. This is called hemagglutination. While this reaction can be inhibited, and this particular phenomenon can be used for the purpose of diagnostic of viral infection by inhibiting the hemagglutination. By adding specific antibody against the hemagglutinin glycoprotein antigens, which are going to block the glycoprotein antigen and not allowing the hemagglutinin to agglutinate with the RBC. This is how we can inhibit hemagglutination, and we can use this process for diagnosis. So this is the diagrammatic representation of hemagglutination test, RBCs. They interact with the virus and they show hemagglutination. But if we add antibody, RBCs and viruses together, antibodies will coat the virus antigen and they will not allow the virus to cause the hemagglutination. And this is how hemagglutination will be inhibited. Next virus, papilloma, is neuraminidase, which has another function which is known as elution. This neuraminidase is also known as receptor destroying enzyme. They cause the destruction of surface receptor present on the RBCs, which result in reversal of hemagglutination and release of the virus particle from the RBCs, causing elution. And this is because of this, the receptors on RBCs are destroyed and RBCs will remain. They are not uh, they will not be agglutinated again by any other virus, but virus, they remain unharmed and they are free to agglutinate another fresh RBCs. So this is the process of elution. This is a diagrammatic representation of elution, the action of neuraminidase in replication of virus influenza. Viruses are heat labile, they are stable at low temperature, they can be kept for longer term at minus 70 degrees Celsius. They are inactivated by sunlight, UV rays, ionizing radiation. They are most resistant form, and they are resistant to bacteria and chemical disinfectant, but they are sensitive to interferon. The most active antiviral agents or virucidal agents are oxidizing agents like hydrogen peroxide, potassium permanganate, and hypochlorite. Viruses, they differ from these, which are viroids, virusoids, and prions. Viroids are comprising particles which are naked one, having cyclic small single-stranded RNA. There is no presence of capsid, and these are restricted to plants only. They can cause infection in plants and depends on the host for replication. Viruses are similar to plant pathogen, same to viroids. Prions, these are abnormal infectious protein molecules. They don't have nucleic acid and are highly resistant to physical and chemical agents. They cause slow diseases having long incubation period, which can range for up to years. And these diseases are called as Bryan's diseases, which are neurodegenerative conditions. Brain diseases caused by Bryan's are Kuru, Creutzfeldt Jacobs disease, Viruses are classified by International Committee on Taxonomy of Viruses 2000. They have proposed classification of viruses where the families are should be labeled with suffix viridae and genus should be labeled suffix viruses. There are more than 24 families which are causing human infection, but in this diagram we have given certain out of that, few of them. Herpes viridae having double-stranded DNA, which is linear DNA. They have envelope symmetry. Icosahedron size is 150 to 200 nanometer. Okay, so there are certain examples are here, like today's example, coronavirus family. They have positive sense RNA having helical symmetry, measuring about 120 to 160 nanometer, and the genus representative virus is the coronavirus. So next is replication of virus, which is followed by the 6 complex steps: adsorption, penetration, uncoating, biosynthesis, maturation, and release. So viral replication have the following stages, like attachment of adsorption, penetration, uncoating, biosynthesis, maturation, anassembly formation, and release. So virus particles, they attach on the target cell which has a particular receptor on their surface. These receptors which are present on the virus and the receptor present on the host cell, they come together, they bind to each other, and then virus particle is internalized into the host cell where the only the capsid along with the nucleic acid goes inside the host cell, and then uncoating. This process is called, this step is called as penetration, and the step is called penetration is followed by uncoating, where the capsid is released, the capsid is fused, and the nucleic acid is released in the cytoplasm, where it get start the process of biosynthesis. And after the process of biosynthesis, there's production of early proteins, then production of nucleic acid, then synthesis of lead proteins and structural proteins. Then these are then these after synthesis of all this, there is the step of maturation and assembly. All these parts, they are assembled. Nucleic acids are inserted inside the assemblies, and then they are released. If the virus is envelope virus, it is released by the process of budding, and if the virus is non-enveloped virus, then it is released by the process of lysis. Adsorption or attachment is the first step in process of infecting a host cell. Attachment is mediated by binding of the virus surface structures known as lesion to the complementary receptor which are present on the host cell surface. Virus receptors are proteins, and they can be different in different viruses. For example, influenza virus, they have spikes. In adenovirus, they have small fiber present on the corner of icosahedron. The site of attachment can also vary according to the nature of the virus infecting. For example, in case of HIV, attachment is between immunodeficiency virus surface glycoprotein GP120 with the CD4 receptor CCX4, or it can be with the macrophage. GP120 attaches with the CCR5 receptor present on the surface of macrophage. In case of rabies virus, it binds specifically with the acetylcholine receptor found on neural cells. Influenza virus binds specifically to salicylic acid residue of glycoprotein receptor sites on surface of respiratory epithelium. Susceptibility of the host to virus infection is therefore depends on presence or absence of receptor on cell surface. Penetration, which generally seen in non-enveloped virus, is the viropexis or endocytosis. Same activity by which the nutrient and other molecules are brought inside the cell. The virus, non-enveloped virus, settles on the cell surface of the host cell, and it gets internalized by the process of endocytosis, similar to that of phagocytosis. And another process which is followed by enveloped virus, alternative mechanism, known as fusion. Viral envelope may fuse with the host cell plasma, releasing nucleocapsid into host cell cytoplasm. HIV is a classical example. Third step is uncoating, where there is a release of nucleic acid in host cell and separation from its protein coat. With majority of viral particles, this process is carried out by certain enzymes such as lysozymes present inside the phagocytic vacuoles and Golgi vesicles of the host cell. Lysozymes degrade the protein coat of viral capsid. In some, uncoating is carried out by exclusive enzymes present in the host cell cytoplasm. Biosynthesis is the fourth step. Viral genome integrates with the host cell chromosome and orders the cells to shut down normal function, diverts the host cell biosynthetic machinery for production of viral components. The sites of viral synthesis depends upon type of viruses, where RNA or DNA. It depends upon that whether the virus is RNA or DNA virus. Important four steps of biosynthesis includes transcription of mRNA from viral nucleic acid, translation of mRNA into early protein, which is known as synthesis of early proteins. These early proteins, they are responsible for causing shutdown of normal mechanism of host cell and starting production or biosynthesis of viral enzyme for their own protein and non-structural protein buildup. Third step is synthesis or replication of viral nucleic acid, and which is followed by synthesis of lead protein and structural protein, which is the fourth step, which constitute daughter cell. Biosynthesis of DNA viruses. DNA viruses replicates their DNA in nucleus of host cell by using viral enzymes. However, synthesis of their capsid, either DNA viruses or RNA viruses, and other protein structure takes place in cytoplasm of the host cell. Subsequently, the protein enter into nucleus and assembly with newly synthesized DNA to form virion. These virions are then transported along with endoplasmic reticulum to the membrane of the host cell for release. DNA viruses, for example, herpes, papovirus, adenovirus, and hepatinovirus. Exception which does not follow this process is the pox virus, where all components are synthesized in cytoplasm. So this is the diagram representing biosynthesis in DNA. Double-stranded DNA is translated into mRNA, where mRNA is going to produce early proteins. Early proteins, they are going to form the nucleic acid, parental DNA, double-stranded, and then they are going to form late mRNAs, late proteins, and assemblies, and then daughter virions. Biosynthesis of RNA viruses. RNA viruses have same polarity, single-stranded RNA viruses on double-stranded RNA viruses. They have RNA viruses, they have same polarity as mRNA, and hence they are directly transcripted from early proteins. So here you can see single-stranded mRNA in case of a positive sense RNA, positive sense single-stranded RNA, where single-stranded RNA first translate and produces early proteins, and then transcription occurs, which act as a RNA polymerase and translate into negative sense single-stranded, and this is how double-stranded RNAs are. And this is how single-stranded RNAs are produced. Next is maturation. Assembly of protein capsid is first step in viral maturation. During maturation, the envelope protein is encoded by viral gene and it is incorporated into plasma membrane of infected host cell. In contrast, the envelope lipid and carbohydrates are encoded by the host cell gene and and not by viral genes. The envelope develop around the capsid by the process of budding. Mature nucleic acid and capsid assemble together to form progeny virion. Assembly takes place either in nucleus in case of DNA virus or in cytoplasm in case of RNA virus, for example, Icona pox viruses. Release of complete virus is the last step in replication. Envelope viruses are released by the process of budding from the cell membrane over a period of time. The host cell remains unaffected, goes on dividing to the daughter cell, which continues to release the new virus. Progeny viruses are released in surrounding, may infect the new host cell. Release by budding does not kill the cell immediately, and in some cases, host cell may remain survive. In non-enveloped viruses, release through rupture of the host cell plasma membrane. This type of release usually results in death of the host cell. For example, this happens in poliovirus. In case of bacterial viruses such as bacteriophages, usually release is by the process of infected bacteria. So we have seen viral replication. These are the important steps: attachment and adsorption, penetration, getting inside the target cell, host cell, then uncoating, releasing of nucleic acid, and biosynthesis, proteins, early proteins, nucleic acid, led protein, structural protein synthesis, maturation and assembly of all the byproducts, and release by the process of budding or lysis. Eclipse phase is the stage when starts from the penetration of a virus into the host cell till the appearance of mature daughter virion. And this is similar to that of incubation period. This is about 15 to 30 minutes in bacteriophages and 15 to 30 hours in animal viruses. Abnormal replicative cycles are there in which incomplete viruses are formed due to the defect during assembly, which are without nucleic acid. These virus progeny they are produced are not effective, and such incomplete viruses can be produced in influenza that show high hemagglutination titer but with low infectivity, and this is known as von Magnus phenomenon. Pseudovirions in these viral encloses host cell nucleic acid instead of virus nucleic acid, and they are not infective at all and they cannot even replicate. Abortive infection, this type of infection where virus components are synthesized but they are not getting matured because of defective synthesis in the progeny. Defective viruses, these are genetically defective and are not able to produce fully formed virions. They can produce fully formed virions only in presence of helper viruses such as supplement their genetic deficiency, for example, hepatitis B and adeno-associated satellite viruses, which replicate only in presence of helper viruses such as hepatitis B and adenovirus respectively. So viral genetics, viruses are viruses are obligate intracellular parasites. They can replicate only in living cells. Viruses do obey the laws of genetics like other cells. The viruses show variation in genetic structures by two processes, mutation and recombination. Mutation is the most important genetic modification in virus, which occurs spontaneously and readily in viral genomes, causing frequent changes in nucleic acid, resulting in production of new viral strains showing different characteristics from parental and wild type strains. Mutation occur during every viral infection. Frequency is about 10 raised to 4 to 10 raised to 8 per base pair per generation. New virus strains can be identified by their nucleotide sequence, antigenic difference, and difference in their properties. Mutations are essential. Mutation in essential gene of viruses can cause inactivation of the virus, and this is known as lethal mutation. Mutation can be induced by mutagens, for example, irradiation, chemicals such as 5-fluorouracils. There are type of mutation, conditional lethal mutants and temperature sensitive mutants. Conditional lethal mutants can grow in specific conditions called permissive condition but cannot grow in other conditions. Temperature sensitive mutants or TS mutants, type of conditional lethal mutants that can grow at low temperature 28 to 31 degrees Celsius but not high temperature 37 degrees Celsius. TX mutants are used in preparation of live vaccine for example in case of TS influenza vaccine. Recombination, it can happen when two different but related viruses infect a cell simultaneously. This can lead to extramolecular genetic exchange between the two infecting viruses, leading to produce a progeny with genes from both the viruses. Reassortment is seen in segmented type of RNA viruses such as influenza, rotavirus, gunyah virus, and adenoviruses. When two strains of influenza infect a host, the genetic exchange occur between the RNA segments, result in production of assortment. This is the most important procedure by which pandemic strains of influenza originating in nature, for example, H1N1 strains 2009 and the SARS-CoV-2 strain, it occurs in two ways: maker rescue, where the host cell get infected with active virus and a different inactive virus, but related virus at the same time. Exchange occur between both, and certain markers of inactivated viruses they rescued and may appear in the progeny of active virus. For example, endemic strain of influenza not able to grow in eggs, but after mixing with epidemic strain may show ability to grow in eggs. Second is multiplicity reactivation. Occurs when main inactivated viruses interact with the same host cell to produce a stable, viable virus. For example, usually it occurs when viruses are inactivated by UV exposure for vaccine preparation, have damages in their genes. Hence, from undamaged, healthy genes, there is formation of a complete new undamaged genome. Therefore, UV radiation for production of inactivated vaccine now is not recommended. So, expected question for this particular topic: short notes on viral replication, general properties of viruses, abnormal replicative cycles of viruses, virus replication, viral genetic modification, viral recombination, viral reassortment, genetic reactivation. To summarize, we have studied today about virus history of virology, difference between virus and bacteria, nomenclature of viruses, morphology of viruses, in which we have studied about size, shape, envelope, non-envelope, resistance, viroids, prions. We have learned about new agglutination and elution. We learned about viral replication cycles. We learned about viral genetic modification. So, thank you for patient listening. If you have any questions, you can ask. Do you have any questions? Do you have any questions? Anyone has any question?
Uh,
Hello?
no, sir.
Yes. Do you have any questions? Otherwise, we'll end the meet. Okay, thank you. So we'll end here. Thank you.